Part 1. Up first, a married couple moved into a new house when they decided to rip up the carpet and get a new one. But what they found underneath the carpet is absolutely terrifying. Underneath the carpet was a pentagram, which is a symbol of the devil and devil worshippers. This is extremely scary because the previous homeowners were definitely doing satanic rituals.
What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. How you guys doing? If you guys are brand new here, man, you guys don't know what we do. Let me break it down for you guys, man. We talk about the most scariest and creepiest videos on the net, on the web, from YouTube videos to TikTok videos, IG reels, Facebook, anything weird, usual, and unexplained, you can find right here on this channel. Just want to thank all my supporters, man, who's coming back to the channel each and every single day, watching the videos entirely, man. Commenting down below, and most importantly, hitting that thumbs up button on each and every single video I drop. I greatly appreciate the support. Find this video for you guys today. Let's do what we do best, seekers, man. Say it with me, y'all. Let's see the truth.
Imagine going into surgery to try to fix a condition, but you actually come out looking much worse. Well, that's exactly what happened to 29-year-old Kayla Cannon. She was born with congenital ptosis, which is basically a condition where your eyes droop, and she wanted to fix this problem, so she went to a specialist, and then she came out looking like this. Kayla decided to get this procedure done with Dr. Harvey Chip Cole, who's located in Atlanta. This doctor made a ton of mistakes during this procedure, one of them being removing half of her eyelids, which caused a lot of tightness and left her looking like this. After the botched surgery, Kayla had a serious infection and could barely close her eyes because of how tight they were. And she had to undergo 7 additional surgeries to correct the damage, and she was left with these permanent scars. Kayla's devastated because she feels like she went through this procedure only to look worse than what she did, and this is the first time that this doctor did something like this. This is another patient who was also botched, and she came out right after Kayla spoke out about this doctor, and the crazy thing about this is that he is still practicing.
How is he still practicing after two botched surgeries, bro? They tried to get that to, I guess, they wanted to fix themselves, or they just wanted to look better, I guess, for their self-esteem, and look what happened. Don't trust these surgeons out here, seekers.
Telling you that nobody ever saw something. Not one of these people heard or saw something that they shouldn't have heard or seen. None of these celebrities knew what Diddy was doing. I mean, it's frankly very hard to believe. Everyone's been around that friend who gets a little too drunk and says something that they shouldn't. So you're telling me that P. Diddy never got too drunk, too high, too whatever, maybe even too comfortable around some of his elite friends and never said anything about what he was doing? I mean, for decades, P. Diddy has been a hardcore sexual predator, running a massive sex trafficking operation that has involved many, many minors. And still, nobody ever heard or saw a single thing? I mean, with the amount of parties that P. Diddy was having and the people that he was inviting, these seemed like pretty big events that he would have to prepare for all the time. And it seems like one person in his organization would tell somebody something, right? Well, I guess not. We should just trust all of these people because they will always tell us the truth. At least, that's what we're told to do. But I don't buy it. Somebody saw something. And I think that there's a silence in Hollywood because not only are people complicit in this stuff, but there had to have been many, many dozens, if not hundreds of others who saw the signs, who saw the victims leaving P. Diddy's place, who were told things over drunken or stoned conversations, who just sat idly by the side and did nothing. And honestly, it doesn't get more disturbing than that. Just food for thought.
That one get taken down.
Found in people's houses, Part 1. Up first, a married couple moved into a new house when they decided to rip up the carpet and get a new one. But what they found underneath the carpet is absolutely terrifying. Underneath the carpet was a pentagram, which is a symbol of the devil and devil worshippers. This is extremely scary because the previous homeowners were definitely doing satanic rituals. Next up, a homeowner decided to move a mirror in his house when he discovered a camera behind it. There was a specific hole cut in the wall for the camera to fit, making you think whoever put it there did it to spy on the people living in the house. This is so chilling and disturbing, I would immediately move out.
Yeah, especially at the first house. Saw that pentagon? I'm out. Deuces, bro. That property is cursed, man. We definitely out.
Sea monsters are real, and there's a big one under the ocean. Let me explain. Bangladesh legend talks about an eel longer than eternity with a head the size of a town that could swallow up entire armies. They called it Anantashesha, but after strange evidence surfaced, officials got involved. But every attempt to study this monster was a catastrophic failure. Visions of eyes in the darkness haunted anyone swimming in the area, even long after they had gone home. Those that have seen the eel say it oozes a mysterious goop in the water that drives you to pure insanity. Tests were then run on the fluid and found it could be used as a powerful sedative and memory-wiping amnesia serum, amnestics. Though its full length has never been observed, it's theorized to be about 1 megameter in length, or roughly the size of France. Big water noodle. However, right now it is fully motionless, with studies saying that it's currently sleeping, meaning you could swim right up to the thing until it wakes up. See, this isn't just an Anantashesha. This is SCP-3000.
This is the last photo of Chris Creepiest, a Dutch tourist that went to Panama on a jungle hike with their friend in 2014. The mystery of their disappearance still remains unsolved today, so let's talk about what we know. So this photo was taken on April 1st, 2014. When the parents of Lisanne Froon, the friend that came with her, and Chris Creamer's parents stopped receiving updates, they got worried and traveled to Panama to find their daughters. They were accompanied by police when they arrived on April 6th, and they scoured the forest for 10 days trying to find their daughters. Now, after about 10 weeks or 2.5 months, a woman turned in a blue backpack belonging to Froon. It had a camera and a phone in it. Creamer's phone was turned on intermittently between April 5th and 11th with the incorrect PIN being entered. Froon's phone died on April 4th. What they found in the photographs was disturbing. 90 flash photographs were taken intermittently between 1 and 4 a.m. One of the last photos had Creamer's hair with blood all over it, and it was a photo of the back of her head. 2 months after the back were turned in, they discovered some bones. They found a pelvis bone and a foot bone, and upon analysis, it belonged to Froon and Creamer. It's even weirder, upon all of the bones and the findings they found, there are no discernible marks of trauma or any marks on their bones at all. So it's still a mystery on how they might have died. And it still remains unsolved 10 years later today. Froon's bones appear to have skin on it still, and then Creamer's bones appear to have been bleached. Because of the cleanliness of this scene, I don't think an animal got to them. That was my initial thought on reading this story. I think somebody who does this a lot got to them. Because somebody did this very swift and clean, and they really left no evidence to be found. This story is one of those cases that keep me up at night. Let me know what you guys think about this case in the comment section below, and as always, these videos are for informational purposes only.
Here are some
I'll
news
keep me up
you
at night.
actually want to hear. Alright, firstly, Spain has pre-approved a law that gives pets equal rights as humans. So by law, if you see a pet on the street, you have to treat them the same way as a child. Next, do you all remember the Success Kid meme? Well, from this meme going viral, this young boy was actually able to pay for his father's kidney transplant that was over $100,000. Now, believe it or not, but archaeologists actually found the real tomb of Santa Claus. And yeah, it might not be the Santa Claus you're thinking of, but the original one. His coffin was found under a Turkish church. Moving on, Portugal has made it illegal for bosses to contact employers after work hours. When is this going to go global? Finally, the dodo bird went extinct in the 17th century. However, after a DNA breakthrough, scientists say this bird could come back to life in the next couple of years.
I'm kind of iffy about the last one, especially with the dodo bird. When you mess with the ecosystem like that, you don't know how that can affect everything else, man. It went extinct. Just let it lie. I don't like when they be messing with the laws of nature.
Just a cigarette and it cannot be that bad. Honey, don't you love me and you know it makes me sad. Just a cigarette like you always used to do. I was different then, I don't need them to be cool.
Weird
I remember
facts you
Chris
did not
Wallace
know
one.
about. In 1981, 3 young men found the murdered body of a woman laying in a roadside ditch in Ohio. She was known as the Buckskin Girl because of the poncho she'd been wearing, but police struggled to identify her for decades. That was until 37 years later, in 2018, when DNA analysis identified her as hitchhiker Marcia King. Her mother had still been living in the same house, with the same phone number, never giving up hope that her daughter may return home one day. Marcia's murder remains unsolved, but the case is still open. in a form of doping known as boosting. Wheelchair athletes with spinal injuries will sometimes intentionally injure themselves below the waist. They cause their bodies to respond by raising blood pressure, thus enhancing their performance. Techniques include clamping down on a catheter to overfill the bladder, breaking toe bones, and administering electric shocks to the legs, feet, and testicles. Boosting has been completely banned by the International Paralympic Committee since 1994.
This is the story of the Silent Man.
Interesting.
In 2014, a 51-year-old man in the UK named David Hampson decided to stand in the middle of a busy road and block the traffic. The incident was then reported and police officers arrived at the scene to see what was going on. But when they tried to talk to David to get him to move, he wouldn't say a word and just stood there, so they arrested him. From his arrest to when he was brought to court, David still remained completely silent and wouldn't even talk to his lawyer. Although since no one knew his motives and he hadn't actually hurt anyone, David was let go soon afterwards. But all he did was just go back to that same street and stand there, silent, once again. And he committed this same crime over and over again for the next 7 years, never saying a word to anyone. Even though he was jailed multiple times, every time he was released, he would just go back to that same street and do the exact same thing. All the doctors who had tried to help David failed because he refused to speak to them. And it was reported that the only time anyone had ever heard him speak was when he was giving food and water, and he said thanks. Finally, in 2020, David was given 3.5 years in prison for his actions and is still yet to speak to anyone on why he did it.
Why was he silent, bro? Why was he not talking? That's the real question we need to be asking. He got 3
Here are the creepiest things kids have ever said. And before I tell you these, I feel like I'm obliged to say, I'm so sorry. First up, we've got monster under the bed. One night, a young girl couldn't sleep because apparently there was something under her bed. And when her parents came into the room to say go back to sleep because there's nothing under her bed, she replied with, I know. He's behind you now. Like, I'm sorry. Next up, a 4-year-old girl was found in the bathroom by her mum with all of her Barbies. But she was making them float face down in the bath. When the mum asked what she was doing, she replied with, the man in the wardrobe told me if I didn't do it, it would be my turn to swim face down. Next up, a 3-year-old boy was softly singing in a room while colouring in a picture. His mum actually stopped to listen because she'd never heard the song before. When she asked where he learnt it, he said the lady in my bedroom sang it to me. And finally, a 5-year-old asked his mum when he was going to be 23. His mum said in 18 years' time, and he replied with, well, I hope I don't die again, as that was how old I was the last time I went to heaven. Tell me which story made you go, what the f*** the most? And share this with friends, just creep them out because you're a good person. Now everyone with me. Elon!
The last one for sure. Blew my mind.
5 days ago, these 2 girls made a TikTok saying they found a dead body in the morning. But the thing is, they weren't lying. 2 girls from Texas, aged 17 and 16, made a Snapchat of them stealing jewelry off of the dead body of a man they found in a drainage ditch. In the video, Bethany Martin, the 17-year-old, took the necklace off of the man's corpse and gave it to her friend who was recording. The younger teen told police that she put the medallion on her own gold necklace because it matched her fashion style. Both girls have been charged with theft to a human corpse, and police believe the man's death was a suicide.
If y'all saw that, why would you take the duty seekers? You gotta call that in and report, man. Why do people just think about themselves, man? This world nowadays is just unbelievable to think about.
True horrifying story, part 30. This story took place in Medina, Saudi Arabia in the year 2001. And the person who said this story is Dr. Yasser Qadi. He's someone that is known in the community of the Islamic Da'iyas. There are exorcists from all religions, Muslims, Christians, and Jewish. And their job is to perform an exorcism session on a person who is possessed by a demon or a jinn. When Dr. Yasser was a student, he studied in Medina. There was a known exorcist that practiced ruqya for many years, and Dr. Yasser wanted to learn from him. Back at the dorm of the Islamic college, there was a student that is a fresh convert, just recently converted to Islam. He barely knows anything about the religion, small bits of the Quran, does not know the ahadith, and doesn't know the big scholars in Islam. One day, the students were reading Quran out loud back at the dorm, and this new convert student starts to scream and roll on the ground. They knew he was possessed, so they called Dr. Yasser. Now remember, Dr. Yasser was still a student back then. He was not an expert in exorcism. He goes there and has a 2-hour session of ruqya, the ruqya that he recently learned, trying to kick out the demon out of this kid's body. As he reads Quran, he would see an alien-like movement on the kid's body. His skin would ripple up and down. A human being cannot do this intentionally. He would follow the movement with his hands reading the Quran, and he would see it move somewhere else. After the session was over, the kid looked fine, and they got lunch for everyone to eat. They say Bismillah, and they ask the new convert to join them for lunch. He said, "I'm not hungry, it's okay." As they were eating, one of the students drops a piece of his food on the ground and ignores it. The convert student immediately jumps like a snake, picks it up and gobbles it down with his left hand. Dr. Yasser lets the food go and gets up, knowing that this kid is still possessed. He tries to intimidate this demon by shouting, "I'm gonna bring Sheikh bin Uthaymeen to read on you." Now, Sheikh bin Uthaymeen is a huge Islamic scholar, and he passed away around that time in January 2001. This kid laughs hysterically with a raspy demonic voice. He gets up and he asks, "Are you going to bring him back from the dead?" This is when they all realize that this wasn't a human entity that spoke. How can this new convert know who Sheikh bin Uthaymeen is? And why would he say he's not hungry but ate food that dropped on the ground? And how was his skin rippling? Jinns can harm you, and the harm is tangible. This is not a joke. Being possessed is very, very real. Even to exorcists, it's very dangerous, and only people with very strong faith can do it.
Creepiest home camera footage.
Learning.
In 2017, a mother in Billings, Montana woke up in the middle of the night to a notification on her phone. Her phone was synced to a baby monitor she had set up in her infant daughter's room. On this night, upon being alerted, she opened the app expecting to see her daughter awake in the crib. But instead she saw this. A man she didn't know is seen crouched down in the room. She saw this and ran to the room to retrieve her daughter and run out the house. She didn't see anyone in the room but wasn't exactly looking. When she called the cops, they arrived and conducted a search of the home but didn't find anything. A very odd detail is that it was found that nothing but the remote to a dog show collar was stolen from the house. Who this man is and how he got in the house is still unknown.
Be careful. You never know, man, who's in there lurking. She got her daughter and ran out. Smart move.
Submechanophobia is a fear of human-made objects submerged in water, and this could be partially or entirely underwater. So something like a ride where the animatronics come in and out of the water would trigger this. Some of the popular imagery associated with this fear comes from a Japanese folklore park, where a trio of river monsters rise out of a pond. Someone with this fear also may not like the idea of an underwater shipwreck. They may even not like the idea of a buoy. A part of submechanophobia is that people are scared that they could get stuck next to or underneath the underwater object, or that something more dangerous might emerge out of the foreign object, like a body or something, especially if the object is old and abandoned. This could also maybe lead you to believe that it is haunted.
Yeah. You guys had that fear of objects in the water? I think I'm okay with that.
I have a few more pieces of information to add to the video that I made about missing aspiring LA actress Chanel Banks. This is coming up on your For You page and you don't know what I'm talking about. Go watch the video, but also here's the synopsis. 36-year-old Chanel Banks has been missing since before Halloween. Her cousin is looking for her. Her husband has not been very cooperative. He says he tracked her AirPods to Texas. Police went to Texas. They found someone who says they are Chanel. The body cam footage was seen by the cousin, and she says it is not Chanel. Anyways, the cousin has made a GoFundMe. I think it is for private investigative services and also for the cost of living and eating and stuff while she is in LA because she does not live in LA. But in the description of this GoFundMe, there's some other information that I thought was important to go over. So it does say their last contact with her was October 30. However, 2 welfare checks were performed on November 7th and 2 more on November 8th. I don't know what triggered those welfare checks, but keep that date in mind, November 7th. So Danielle says that on November 10th, so only a few days later, my aunt, she says, which I'm assuming is Chanel's mom, and I were able to get into the apartment. So very quick after they realized something was wrong. The only items we did not locate are her phone and laptop. She also does not have her vehicle because it's parked in her garage. Now, the very bottom here, it says, we noticed on November 10th, that is when they arrived. On November 10th, they noticed that her husband had a busted lip and marks and scratches on his neck and arms. Police were called on November 10th, and they took pictures of his injuries, which he did not have 2 days ago when police did the last welfare check. The husband says she does not want to be found. She will reach out when she's ready. He claims he doesn't know where she is. He says he hasn't seen or heard from her since November 7th. Remember, that was when the first welfare check was called in. But LAPD have told us because there's no signs of foul play, there's nothing they can do. And also that they're going to hire a private investigator. I have so many thoughts about this, and unfortunately none of them are positive. And it just makes me sick to my stomach hearing these details, knowing how so many of these cases pan out. And I feel like this one is just checking all of the boxes. Red flag, red flag, red flag. First off, if someone's gonna go somewhere and they don't want to be found, why would they not take their car? Second, why would they only take their phone and laptop and not their wallet, their purse, their dog? I also really, really want to know the path that those AirPods took. He says he tracked them to Texas. Did they happen to go through any postal service locations? Did they travel on a highway? That would be very helpful information. There's so many other things that I could say about this, but I'm going to leave it at that. Let me know what you think.
As promised,
That's insane, man.
Accused of protecting this sorry excuse of a man, please meet the still practicing attorney accused of purchasing a 13-year-old girl in 2022. Karel Benjamin Skuman is 35 years old and appeared today in the Johannesburg High Court, pleading not guilty to the multiple charges, 26 to be precise, against him. He is currently the co-accused in a horrific trial detailing gross negligence and abuse of minors. The mother of the girl in question, 38 years old, has also pled not guilty to the charges laid before her. The trial, however, will resume on the 4th of November, where she will continue with her plea. Seeing as there's 73 charges against her, Skuman is still out on bail of 30,000 rand following his 2023 arrest. According to media sources, he is still registered as an attorney practicing under CBS Attorney. The Legal Practice Council, however, has also confirmed that there are 3 active complaints against him, none of which are connected to this case. As the trial continues next week, I'll be sure to keep you updated. And for those asking, yes, I will be covering this case in depth and in detail on my channel once the trial has concluded. Until the next one, Bella out.
The popular girls at school
People
befriended
need help,
this
bro.
quiet, nerdy girl who ended up unaliving them. Christine Paula was diagnosed with alopecia, so she was bald and had to wear wigs. She also had to wear these really thick glasses, so her appearance made her the target of relentless bullying. She even had to change schools and started attending Clear Lake High School, where the bullying continued. 2 of the more popular girls in school, Rachel and Tiffany, noticed that Christine was being bullied and befriended her. And they gave her one of those like early 2000 movie style makeovers, you know, when they like take off like the nerdy girl's glasses and realize she was beautiful all alone. The makeover was so drastic that Christine was voted Miss Irresistible by her classmates, the same ones that were like just bullying her. Christine, Rachel, and Tiffany were best friends. They did everything together, but unfortunately Rachel and Tiffany were a year older than Christine, so when they graduated, Christine was back to not really having any other friends. So she kind of fell into the wrong crowd. It was also around the same time that Christine started dating 21-year-old Chris Snyder. The two had like a really toxic relationship and started abusing hard substances together. And Tiffany and Rachel did not like their friend's new boyfriend. They like weren't into hard substances. They would occasionally be at parties where like lettuce would be floating around, but the stuff that Christine and Chris were doing was much harder. So on July 18th, 2003, 17-year-old Christine and 21-year-old Chris planned to go to Tiffany's house just to steal some lettuce, but instead started shooting at everyone that was in the house. The couple fired at least 40 rounds, unaliving Rachel, Tiffany, Tiffany's boyfriend Marcus, and his cousin Dee. And this massacre would go unsolved for years, until an anonymous tip came in that led the investigators to the names Chris Snyder and Christine Paula. And no one wanted to believe that Christine could be involved in any way. I mean, she was supposed to be Tiffany and Rachel's best friend. Like, it didn't make any sense, but it was sadly true. Christine was found and brought into custody at a motel that she was hiding out at. that was filled with hundreds of needles, and she was sentenced to life in prison. Chris Snyder was never able to be brought to justice because he unalived himself when he found out that the police were finally after him. Christine never apologized or gave any motive to why she unalived her best friends, even though Tiffany and Rachel were the first people to ever show her any kindness. Now it's widely believed that she was just bitterly jealous of them because of how effortlessly beautiful and popular they were. Let me know all of your thoughts, theories, questions, and case suggestions in the comments.
This is
jealousy. It drives you to do unspeakable things, man. We witnessed that firsthand. If you have that in your heart, just let it go.
probably one of the most chilling unsolved cases I've ever come across. This is Christine Walters, and in 2008 she was a student at the University of Wisconsin. She was a good student, and she had a very pleasant way about her. It was very easy for Christine to make friends, and she just had this personality that would draw people in. Recently, Christine had started looking into the more spiritual side of things and had started teaching yoga and Pilates and was going to more health store foods and just looking at a more holistic way of taking care of her body, if that makes sense. So in 2008, she decided that she wanted to go spend some time in Portland, Oregon with a few of her friends. She had planned to stay there for 3 weeks and bought a two-way ticket. But towards the end of this trip, Christine decided that she had fallen in love with the area and wanted to stay a little bit longer to explore a little more. Christine was also becoming more and more involved in a group called Green Life Evolutions, and this group has since been disbanded because many people believed it to be a cult. Christine decides to stay on the East Coast, and in September of 2008, she moves to Humboldt County, California. At the beginning of this trip, Christine would call her family frequently, keeping in touch with them often, letting them know what was going on. But as time went on, she would call less and less, and she also wasn't working as much, so this would often lead her to call her family occasionally to get some money. Her dad would even send her $1,000, but this would remain completely untouched in her bank account. A few weeks before Christine disappeared, she called her mother, and allegedly this was a concerning phone call. Like, her mom was really worried about her and asked her to come back, but Christine told her mother that she was going to be just fine and decided to stay longer. Then on November 7th of 2008, Christine takes part in a cleansing ceremony where they all drink ayahuasca-infused tea. For those that don't know, ayahuasca is not a legal substance here in the United States, and it is a hallucinogenic. Christine stays with the group of people who were part of this cleansing ceremony until November 11th of 2008. That's when she leaves Arcata, California, because that's where this all took place. It was in the morning hours of November 11th, 2008 that Christine shows up on a couple's property on their front porch. She has scratches all over her body, and her feet are basically raw from running through the woods all night long. She was covered in blood. But not only that, she was scared and completely nude. Christine was taken to the hospital, and there she told doctors and police that she was running from demons who were chasing her. We'll get into more in part 2. It'll be down in the comments.
It's the only way to escape quicksand. If you ever somehow find yourself trapped in quicksand, don't panic. Despite what you've seen in films, you're not going to get sucked under. The truth is, quicksand is denser than us, so you'll float more than you'll sink. Basically, the air in your lungs will keep your upper body above the quicksand, while your legs might get stuck. Now here's what you need to do to get out. Start with one leg and move it around a bit like you're stirring a big pot of soup. Doing this lets water seep down and break up the thick sand, making it easier to pull your leg out. Once you've got one leg out, bend forward onto the free knee. This helps spread your weight around and prevents you from sinking right back in. Now do the same stir the pot motion with your other leg. Pull it out, and there you go. You just got yourself out of quicksand.
3 ways to survive a zombie apocalypse. Number 1, get as far away from the cities as possible, being that there's going to be a ton of people around and not many corners to turn to. When being in most cities, you have high buildings. You don't want to get trapped on the roof of one of them and having to fight your way all the way down. I would suggest going towards the countryside. Number 2, make sure you have non-perishable foods. Things that are in cans, things that can last long periods of time. Things like beans and canned chicken. Also, any kind of bottled or canned beverage will do. Preferably something that's refillable. Number 3, Make sure you have a weapon that you're very comfortable with when going throughout this apocalypse. Something that doesn't make too much noise but deals a ton of damage, like a barbed wire baseball bat or a sledgehammer. Don't forget to like and follow if you want me to continue this series.
Got that from Negan, that barbed wire baseball bat off of Walking Dead.
The life of her husband after she found out that he was actually born a woman. In February of 2002, Elizabeth Radowski met Angelo Headington, and Elizabeth was working as a salesman, and she went to the farm where Angelo was working. The two instantly hit it off, and they started a romantic relationship. About 3 months later, they ended up getting married, but the relationship quickly turned into one with anger, rage, and violence. 3 months into their marriage, Angelo viciously attacked Elizabeth, and this is what caused her to fatally stab Angelo in self-defense. When paramedics were called to the scene, they were checking out Angelo's body, trying to stop the bleeding, and that's when they noticed that his private area was actually a prosthetic, and he was born as a woman named Angela. Elizabeth stated that Angelo told her that his ex had burned his genitals in a fit of rage, so when they were intimate, it was always dark with the lights off, and she never saw him take off his clothes in front of her. Elizabeth was arrested on second-degree murder charges after Angelo had died in the hospital. Elizabeth told authorities that Angelo had attacked her and she had no other choice but to defend herself. The charges against Elizabeth ended up being dropped, and the grand jury determined that she did act in self-defense.
This is the only way to survive a tsunami. So if you start to see sea levels on the shore rising, take this as a sign of a tidal wave and move further inland. Ideally, as far back as possible, so run immediately. Now, it might be tempting to run for a car, but given that traffic will likely form as a result of the chaos, that will probably be pointless. So in order to move more freely, you should continue to walk. Also, keep an eye out for stampedes and large crowds of people to avoid being crushed. When the water starts to flood the area around you and reaches you, you're in the danger zone of a tsunami, and something much worse is yet to come. So instead of continuing to run inland, you should try to get as high as possible on a solid building. In order to climb up there, try looking for a ladder, because by this time the power has most likely been cut off. The only thing left to do is to wait to see if you reached a sufficient height. And at this point, well done, you made it.
Okay, we got some tips on how to survive the zombie apocalypse, tsunami. How to get out of quicksand. We learn the things that they secrets. Tap in with us. I don't even want to be in that situation, man, but I put that in my knowledge bank. So now I know what to do.
This story truly infuriates me. This woman was forced to marry this man, and only a few weeks later, she was found murdered. This is about 20-year-old Rukia Hadari, who moved from Afghanistan to Australia with her family at a very young age. In 2019, Rukia was forced by her mother to marry 25-year-old Muhammad Ali only 2 weeks after her mom introduced them. Leading up to the wedding day in November, Rukia was going around telling her friends, teachers, and counselors that she did not want to go through with the wedding, but had no choice because her mom told her that she had to do it. Before their wedding day, Rukia and Mohammed had only seen each other a few times, and during the ceremony, it's clear that she does not look happy or excited at all. After their ceremony, Rukia moved across the country to live with Mohammed, leaving her friends and family behind, and things quickly took a turn. Only 6 weeks after their wedding, Rukia's life was savagely taken by Mohammed after he got upset that she was not cooking or cleaning for him. He even took this video moments before he took her life and sent it to her family to try to embarrass her. Mohammed slit her throat with a kitchen knife, and then he called her brother to let him know what he did, and then he turned himself in. But here's the twist. Not only was Mohammed charged with murder and sentenced to life in prison, Rukia's mother was also found guilty and was the first person in Australia to be convicted of causing a person to enter into a forced marriage.
This teenager killed.
Yeah, that's an insane story, man. Like, a forced marriage where they had the door didn't have no say. Like, she just forced to marry a stranger. Can't even imagine that. What has this world come to?
With his mom over a bad grade. This is 15-year-old Gregory Ramos. And on November 2nd, 2018, Gregory Ramos got into a fight with his mother, Gail Clevenger. The fight started over his bad school grades, which resulted in him strangling his own mother to death.
Gregory then proceeded to call 2 of his friends to help him bury her body and stage a robbery at his house. Gregory buried her body under a church fire pit and was sentenced to 45 years in prison. Now, what I'm about to show you is Gregory explaining exactly how he committed the murder, and it's absolutely disturbing because keep in mind, this was his own mother.
It's whatever. Alright, I'll tell you what happened. Alright, so I got home, I got in an argument with my mom, she slapped me across the face, she began to hit me, she started beating me, I didn't like it, so I strangled her to death. Alright? I put her in a wheelbarrow, I put her in my car, I took the car, I had a breakdown where I almost committed suicide 3 times, I drove around Daytona, I dropped the wheelbarrow in some random ass location, and I drove back to the church, I began to dig a hole. I dig a hole right under the fucking fire pit. I took a pretty deep hole, pretty deep, deep enough to put a bit about it in, alright? All this time my mom was decomposing body, I dragged it from my car to the fire pit, in which case I tried to cut the wedding ring off her finger because I wanted to pawn it, but I couldn't because I didn't have a knife strong enough to cut bones. Oh well, whatever. Anyways, so I dug that hole, threw her body in there, filled back in, made it look all nice and natural, dumped my clothes, and then I went home.
The easiest horror movies to survive. Number 1, Candyman. All you have to do is not say his name 3 times and you will survive. It might genuinely be one of the easiest movies you could survive as long as you're not dumb. Number 2, The Ring. They tell you, hey, don't watch this tape or you'll get cursed. And then you watch the tape and wonder why you're unalive. Just don't watch the tape and you'll be perfectly fine. Number 3, Chucky. Chucky is a doll. Remember that. Chucky's a doll. Yes, very smart, the intellect of a man that pretty much inhabited the doll when he was unalive. But nonetheless, it's a doll. I'm punting Chucky across the room. I'm sorry. Number 4, Pennywise. Now, me being a kid or me being an adult, I'm going nowhere near a storm drain. There's no way I'm going to the storm drain and having a conversation with someone dressed like a clown. It's just not gonna work for me. It's just not something I'm gonna do. The first 1,000 of you to click the link in my bio and subscribe to my YouTube channel.
Could you survive those movies, man? Just follow simple logic. It's really easy. Especially about this part about Chucky, man. He's a doll, but you can just chuck him across the roof.
How to survive a brain-eating amoeba. This deadly creature wants to live in warm, fresh water all over the world. Step 1, hold your nose. Strangely enough, they can't infect you through your mouth, so just make sure you're wearing a nose clip when you're swimming in fresh water. And yes, that includes sketchy swimming pools. People have been infected from sketchy swimming pools. Step 2, don't touch the bottom. Naegleria fowleri, its official name, likes to live in the sediment on the bottom of fresh water sources. So by disturbing this dirt and kicking it up, you're putting yourself at higher risk. Step 3, if you're experiencing things like nausea and headache after swimming in fresh water, make sure you see a doctor as soon as possible. Only 7 people have survived this brain-eating organism, and all of them required intense medical care. If you want to avoid these guys altogether, maybe just stick to swimming in salt water. Try the Bahamas. Hashtag not sponsored. And that's...
Okay. Never swimming in some fresh water. Got stuff in that water, man, that you don't want to enter in your body. Edit. Call them on like when we see it.
Here are 3 ways you can survive an encounter with the Slenderman.
Talk about it.
According to legend, the Slenderman is a malicious entity with supernatural abilities, known for stalking and tormenting its human victims, seemingly without cause. The first rule you'll need to follow if you suspect that the Slenderman is nearby is to always carry a camera or cellular device with photographic capabilities with you at all times. The Slenderman can only be viewed by children or through the lens of a camera, so this will allow you to know its location, erasing any chance of a surprise attack. Secondly, you'll want to keep an eye out for warnings posted by the Slenderman's previous victims. If you ever see any, run. Finally, if you're being chased by the Slenderman, try to avoid running on foot. The Slenderman is exceptionally fast, can teleport, and has arms that can extend more than 10 feet, so it's much safer to flee in a vehicle or take cover inside. Tag a friend if you're watching this alone, and follow for more.
Okay.
This perverted woman snuck into morgue and essayed over 40 corpses. This is a disturbing case of Karen Greenlee, a necrophile who described herself as a morgue rat. So So Karen actually worked as an apprentice embalmer in Sacramento, California. On December the 17th, 1979, she stole the body of a 33-year-old man. Her intentions were to SA the corpse. Now on this occasion, someone actually saw her steal the body, and therefore police were able to easily track her down. And when they found her, she was trying to unalive herself. Authorities took her to the hospital, her stomach was pumped, and her life was saved. Since she was trying to unalive herself, she had written a chilling goodbye letter. In that letter, she confessed to having slept with the corpses of over 40 men. She said that the smell of death turned her on, and she admitted it was some sort of addiction. Lucky for Karen, at the time she was arrested, necrophilia was not illegal, and so she only spent 11 days in prison, and that was for trying to steal a dead body. Since then, Karen has changed her name and moved to another city. And let's just hope she kicks that addiction. I'm Harvs, and if you want to hear more stories about real life people, hit the plus.
Who wins in a fight? Winnie?
That is one of the most strangest and weirdest addictions I've ever heard in my life. She was probably the one who made that law go into effect, man. She only spent 11 days in jail. Come on, bro. These clips, man, that we be watching be breaking our reality, bro.
Winnie the Pooh from Winnie the Pooh, Blood Honey 2, or Art the Clown? Starting with Winnie the Pooh. If you guys have seen Winnie the Pooh, Blood Honey 2, you guys know Winnie the Pooh was standing on all kinds of business. Not only having super strength using multiple different weapons, but also having a ton of mobility and having health regeneration. If you guys have seen the movie, at the end of the movie, he is supposed to be unalived. And it cuts to a cutscene of where all of the characters except Piglet are still alive, meaning that Winnie the Pooh is more or less immortal, making this a little bit of a tougher task for Art the Clown. Now, hopping over to Art the Clown, as we know, he's a jokester. He enjoys unaliving. That's one of his favorite things. And you can tell by the movies that he genuinely enjoys it. But him not taking it seriously may be his downfall. Now, yes, I know he has a bag of tricks. He's extremely fast. He's extremely sly. And yes, he is also immortal, with the little clown girl who's able to more or less rebirth him, which we saw at the end of Terrifier 2. Of course, leading up to Terrifier 3 releasing later this year. So all in all, if it was a death match, Art the Clown versus Winnie the Pooh from Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2, who do I think is going to win? If we're basing off of sheer strength, I'm going with Winnie the Pooh. All in all, I'm putting all of my chips on Winnie the Pooh. Now, I love Art the Clown, but all in all, I think Winnie the Pooh is packing him up. Like and follow for more, and comment down below who I should do next.
This woman was caught putting Roundup in her husband's Mountain Dew. This man from Missouri went to police after his home surveillance camera caught his wife, 47-year-old Michelle Peters, pouring Roundup, which is a chemical weed killer, into his favorite drink. He became a little suspicious in the beginning of May when he noticed that his Mountain Dew was tasting a little off. At first, he ignored the strange taste and continued to drink it, but a couple of weeks later, he began vomiting and having a sore throat. Then on June 12th, he reviewed surveillance footage in his garage where he kept his Mountain Dew in a fridge, and it shows his wife pouring the Roundup straight into the Mountain Dew bottle. Around that same time, he had told her that he was feeling sick, and all she said was that he probably had COVID and to stay away from the grandkids. Eventually, he went to police and Michelle was arrested, and at first her defense was that she mixed the Mountain Dew with the Roundup because she wanted to create this strong weed killer, and she had seen this on Pinterest. But eventually, she admitted to everything, and she said she did it because she was mad at her husband for being unappreciative after she threw him a 50th birthday party. She then expressed that she regretted it and she should have just divorced him. She was charged with first-degree domestic assault and armed criminal action.
All because he didn't appreciate a birthday party, man. You take it to that extreme. Your own wife, man. You have to watch everybody nowadays, bro. Imagine what happens if he didn't have that camera and he didn't know what was going on. If he wasn't recording around his house, what would have happened? He caught it just in time. That's an edit.
How sleep paralysis looks like.
It's like a damn demon. Oh crap. Oh man, what the fuck? What the hell is that?
This is why you should never leave your
Oof.
children alone in Disneyland. Allegedly, this 4-year-old girl named Lee went missing in Disneyland in Anaheim, California on October 12th. Lee was visiting the park with her family. They were having a great time, so they decided to get something to eat together, and that's when Lee realized that she really needed to go use the restroom. Surprisingly, the mother let 4-year-old Lee go to the restroom by herself because, after all, it is Disneyland. It's safe, right?
No, it ain't.
Time started to pass by, and Lee was taking longer than usual, so the mother went to the restroom to see what was going on. When the mom entered the restroom, she saw the most unbelievable thing ever. The mother witnessed a man taking Lee to an underground tunnel, and when she tried to go grab Lee, the door completely closed and she was unable to catch her. Allegedly, the mother ran out of the bathroom crying for help and contacting the authorities. Authorities and employees of Disneyland completely checked the bathroom and they could not find anything, and they just made it seem like she was crazy and making up the whole thing. Lee's father told Disney management that they should break down the floor of the bathroom to prove that there's not a tunnel, and they told him no. Disneyland management had told authorities that these parents had lost their mind and were completely making this up. The parents also wanted to see a video surveillance of when Lee was walking to the bathroom, but apparently it wasn't working that day.
What?
There's also one instance of where a mother is in the bathroom stall and she sees a hole going through the wall, and it looked like there was an underground tunnel where they could see them. In 2006, 35 Disney employees ended up getting arrested for crimes against children, so this story does not seem too far-fetched, but I guess we will really never know.
What is the biggest difference?
What do you guys think, man? Some of these clips we've been hearing, like stories about Disneyland, but like news like that always stays out the major, like I guess news circuits or something like that, because Disney is ties or something like that. But I wouldn't be surprised if they really had an underground like tunnel or something over there. They had the resources.
Michael Myers, Jason Voorhees, in the New Age slasher Art the Clown. It's this one thing. Gen slashers always hold true to this, because they're not threats. But will Art the Clown see it that way? I don't know, because from what I've been told, the first couple minutes of Terrifier 3 are said to be some of the most disgusting, disturbing, and shocking things we've ever seen. And that's saying a lot, because Terrifier 2 was absolutely insane, especially the bedrooms. People were literally running out of the theaters and throwing up when they first saw Terrifier 2. And if the first couple minutes of Terrifier 3 are said to be some of the most shocking and disturbing things we've seen from Art, what does that mean for this little person? What's gonna happen? Because from the countless set photos we've seen, Art the Clown is dressed up as Santa Claus and going to the mall. Meaning he's gonna have a ton of people around him sitting on his lap and telling him what he wants for Christmas. Now, we already know what Art the Clown wants for Christmas. He wants to decorate with people. Now, I've been getting a lot of questions and tagged in this video. Do I think Art the Clown is genuinely gonna pack this kid up? I don't know. I don't think Damien Leone is going to go that far, but if it's been said that this movie is going to be 10 times shocking, especially the first 5 minutes, and we've already seen the 2-minute clip where Buddy's going crazy downstairs, I really don't know if I would put it past Art the Clown for him to do this. I just kind of hope not.
Skinwalker disguising as human.
Okay, let's see it. Weird as hell. What do you guys think? Was that an actual skinwalker? He was walking weird as hell, man, so I don't know what the hell that was. We've been seeing some of those clips before, man. Fastball. Tragic story. Damn, man. Crap. Into this another tragic story. Okay. What the hell happened? Oh crap. Oh man.
Arkansas. Hot Springs, Arkansas was actually about 400 miles away from the couple's original destination.
What you're about to see is intense. What you just saw is the United States Coast Guard raiding a high-speed submarine in the Eastern Pacific Ocean moving more than 17,000 pounds of cocaine.
Oh, what the
On June 18th, 2019, a Coast Guard surveillance aircraft tracked and intercepted the drug-filled narco sub hundreds of miles off the Colombian-Ecuadorian coastline. The video shows a member of the Coast Guard riding on top of the speeding submarine. He then starts pounding on the hatch and demanding it to come to a stop. 3 other Coast Guard members then jump ship and board the 40-foot-long submarine. The video then continues, and you see the presumed trafficker emerging from the submarine hatch with his hands up, surrender. And in total, 5 alleged smugglers were seized on board the vessel and were handed over for prosecution by the United States Drug Enforcement Administration.
Are these your friends, the police?
Now, just watch the full encounter unfold. It's honestly something straight out of a video game.
What's he saying?
That's gonna be hard to get on. Alto Tupaco!
Oh, he just jumped.
Crazy. To make sure that he liked girls. Barbara Baekeland was born in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and because of her beauty, she became a model. She began to model for Vogue and was thrown into the Hollywood life. While Barbara was auditioning for roles, she got introduced to Brooks Baekeland, and they ended up sleeping together, and she thought the only way that she could secure his heart was by lying to him and saying that she was pregnant with his baby. The two ended up getting quickly married, and Barbara was working as a professional painter and Brooks was working as a writer. The both ended up seeing other people outside of their marriage, and for the first time, Barbara was actually pregnant, and she ended up having a son in 1946, and his name is Anthony, but they weren't sure
if this was actually from her husband or from another person. The two ended up getting divorced after Brooks met a girl 15 years younger than Barbara, which pushed her over the edge. In 1967, Anthony was about 20 years old, and while he was in Switzerland, he met a man named Jake Cooper, and they started a relationship together. Barbara was not very supportive of her son's relationship choices, so she decided that she was going to fix him. That is when she decided to hire girls to sleep with her son. Obviously, this did not fix anything, so Barbara decided that she was going to sleep with her son, and hopefully this was going to change him. Anthony despised his mom and was thinking of ways he could end her life. On November 17th of 1972, Anthony had stabbed his mom with a kitchen knife, and she died almost immediately. Once police arrived at the scene, he confessed to everything, and he was actually released after 7 years. Once Anthony was released, he went to go live with his grandmother, and 6 days after he was released, he ended up stabbing her 8 times and breaking a lot of her bones, but thankfully she did survive. On March 20th of 1981, Anthony was found in his cell with a plastic bag wrapped around his head, and he had took his own life. There is a movie called Savage Grace, and it's actually based on this whole case.
The more amazing facts that you didn't know.
Damn, he didn't even list one. Oh, another one, man.
Facts that will blow your mind. There is enough DNA in the average person's body to stretch from the sun to Pluto and back 17 times. The average human body carries 10 times more bacterial cells than human cells. It takes a photon up to 40,000 years to travel from the core of the sun to its surface, but only 8 minutes to travel the rest of the way to Earth. At over 2,000 kilometers long, the Great Barrier Reef is the largest living structure on Earth. There are 8 times as many atoms in a teaspoonful of water as there are teaspoonfuls of water in the Atlantic Ocean. In an entire lifetime, the average person walks the equivalent of 5 times around the world. There are actually over 24 states of matter that we know of. Grasshoppers have ears in their bellies. Killer whales are actually dolphins. You can't taste food without saliva. Follow and comment below which fact blew your mind.
I think it's the saliva one. And that the grasshoppers have ears in their bellies.
Nobody would have ever believed that 2 weeks after their beautiful wedding ceremony, she would be found brutally murdered. 32-year-old Melissa Jubane and Brian Gentero got married on August 24th of this year, literally less than 2 months ago. Melissa and Brian were doing long distance. She was a nurse in Oregon, and Brian worked and lived in Washington State. Their plan was that once they got married, Melissa would move to Washington and be with Brian and start their new life together. But unfortunately, that would never happen because on September 4th at approximately 10:18 a.m., police were called to Melissa's house to do a welfare check when she failed to show up to her job. Melissa was scheduled to work that morning at the hospital, and when she didn't show up, her co-workers knew there was something wrong because she was very punctual and reliable. Police first noticed that Melissa's car was still parked where she usually leaves it, meaning that on that morning she didn't even make it to her car. After looking for Melissa for days, she was finally found, and her neighbor, Bryce Sherbert, was arrested. They found crucial evidence which links Bryce to Melissa's murder, but they still have not revealed details about that. Now, Melissa and Bryce lived on the same floor in that apartment, and it was stated that he was obsessing over her for some time and just decided to take her life. I hope they come out with more details on this case, but for now, I did create an entire video going over all the details. If you want to check it out, it's on my YouTube.
Be careful, man. Even your neighbors, bro. You gotta watch everybody, man. He said he was obsessing over her, so the signs were there. You gotta be careful with the neighbors. I'm looking at mine sideways now.
These are the saddest and most wholesome graves in the entire world. This grieving mother added a sandbox to her little boy's grave who had passed away unexpectedly, and now his older brother plays in it every single day. This is the gravesite of a boy who died of an incurable illness in 1865. A few hours before he died, he told his dad he was scared of death because he knew they were going to bury him underground with no lights. So the parents honor his wish and put a window in his tomb. After her daughter died of yellow fever in 1892, a grieving mother wanted to make sure that her little girl was never alone. You see, her daughter was absolutely terrified of storms, so she constructed a staircase that goes directly down into her tomb. Every time there was a thunderstorm, that mother would go to the graveyard and sit with her daughter for hours, comforting her in her grave.
Dedicated parents, man. Rare breed.
Crazy facts that will blow your mind. PT.33. The ocean is the most popular place to dispose of murder victims, and it holds more human remains than all of the graveyards on the earth combined. When you look up at the blue sky and see those white dots flying around, you're actually seeing your own white blood cells. When a person cries and the first drop of tears comes from the right eye, it's happiness. If it is from the left, it's pain.
Wow, really? Left and right determines pain and
One of
happiness.
the world's scariest animals just got a whole lot scarier, and Planet of the Apes is slowly becoming non-fiction. Because apparently chimpanzees are out here murking gorillas. Scientists in 2021 witnessed a troop of chimpanzees basically jumping a family of gorillas. And when I say gang, we're talking about almost 30 chimps pressing a family of 5. Keep in mind a silverback can weigh up to 400 pounds, could probably bench press your car. And according to witnesses, the silverback was eating chimps left and right like they were paper mache. But eventually the chimps overwhelmed the bigger silverback and even kidnapped a baby gorilla. I'm not going to tell you exactly what they did, but that family of 5 became a party of 4. And it wasn't even the last time. Because later that year, scientists watched the same group of chimpanzees do the same exact thing. Square up with a family of gorillas, kidnapped a baby, and erase its name from the gorilla census. And it's not like we didn't know chimps were about that. They often hunt bush babies and vervet monkeys, and we've even seen them use weapons like spears to do it. But it's one thing to hunt something that weighs like 5 Skittles. Going gorillas is another tier of Black Air Force activity.
I'll say.
Which is why I'd rather be locked in a room with a jaguar than a chimp. Because at least a jaguar gonna make it quick.
Jaguar or chimp, Seekers? I ain't gonna lie, I think I still have to choose chimp, man. Might have a chance to fight them off, but they freaking going after gorillas now. What is going on in the animal census, bro? In the animal kingdom. He keeps us up to date on all the animal lore, man. So we definitely gonna have to check it out.
Disgusting facts you won't believe are true. PT-17. Many gummy candies are made from pigskin, cattle bones, and cattle hide. Hot dogs can contain traces of hair, skin, nails, and different meats. Canned mushrooms contain over 20 or more maggots of any size per 100 grams.
Take mushrooms and hot dogs off the list, bro. We don't do those no more.
After that, they met up with 2 guys, and they were going to the party as well, and they decided that they were going to follow them behind their car. However, when those guys were driving, they accidentally missed an exit, so when they got out, they noticed that there was no cars behind them, so they figured the girls decided to do something else, and they weren't going to go to the party, so those guys went to the party without them. As Pamela and Cheryl's family did not hear from them or see them, they reported their disappearance to the police. During the following weeks, both law enforcement and volunteers were searching for the girls near the Missouri River, but they never found a trace of them. In 2007, a man named David Lycan, who was serving a sentence, claimed that he had unalived Cheryl and Pamela. However, David had lied about this and the charges were dropped. September 23rd of 2013, the case would take a complete turn when a fisherman was fishing and he saw 2 whales coming up from the water. At that time, the water level was pretty low because of the drought, and it was easier for the car to be seen. The car was removed from the water, and you can see in the front seat with the skeletons of 2 bodies. Thanks to the DNA, they could confirm that it was Pamela and Cheryl who had been missing for 42 years. With the evidence that the police had, they were able to come up with the conclusion that the 2 girls suffered from a car accident. Pamela's father passed away at the age of 102, just 5 days before finding her body, and sadly he will never know what had happened to her.
Animals that became serial killers, Part 2. The sloth bear of Mysore. In 1957, the sloth bear of Mysore mauled over 30 humans and took the lives of 12. The sloth bear's killing spree didn't stop, and the bear just had a desire for killing.
The killer sloth bear went missing in late 1957, after the killings took place. What do you think ever happened to the sloth bear of Mysore?
I don't know, but y'all saw that last clip? That's some Black Air Force energy, bro. My man was recording it too, like, bro, you need to hit the jets. I ain't recording nothing, bro. Edit. Call him out.
Gruesome facts you didn't know, part 240. In early Roman times, the male head of a Roman family possessed the right to life and death. He had the legal right to execute his children, sell them into slavery, or abandon unwanted or deformed newborns in the forest to die of exposure. Roughly 30,000 people, both children and adults, suffer from an amputated finger each year, with doors and power tools being the most common causes. The only satellite crashing into Earth fatality ever recorded in history was in 1961 when a cow in Cuba was struck by a metal fragment. In 1966, Lester Eubanks was sentenced to life without parole for the murder and attempted rape of 14-year-old Mary Ellen Diener. After 7 years behind bars, he was considered a model inmate and was granted special privileges. One of those was a temporary leave to go Christmas shopping at a Columbus mall on December 7th. The child murderer vanished, never returned to the pickup spot, and was never seen or heard from again.
SpongeBob. Who even came up with that?
Liam, come here. Liam, right now. What is happening? Okay, I'm calling your mom. Just stay right here. Cheese. Cheese. What you doing? What you see? What? What you see?
It's a papa.
Who are you saying hi to? Who are you saying hi to? Dude, you need to stop that. You're freaking me out. Come on.
Here are some things that are illegal to say out loud. So this is for educational purposes only. So you can't say, and I quote, "Let's organize a militia to overthrow the government." Illegal. You also can't say, and I quote, "I'm going to bomb that government building." Very illegal. You also can't mention having a bomb on a commercial aircraft, obviously. You can't say, and I quote, "I'm going to steal from that store and hurt anyone who tries to stop me," so don't do that. You can't say, and I quote, "I'll make sure that immigrant family never feels safe in this neighborhood." That's a no-no. You can't say, and I quote, "I'll release everyone's private information online unless they pay me." Of course. You also can't say, and I quote, "I want to distribute," insert illegal product here, "because I think it's harmless." Nor can you say, and I quote, "I will pay someone to assault my neighbor." And finally, you can't say, and I quote, "I hope someone shoots the president," because that's very illegal. So don't say these things.
Facts that will blow
Those are
your
very
mind.
basic things not to
The
say.
world population has more than doubled since John F. Kennedy was president. Black teeth were a sign of wealth in 18th century England.
What?
There's a fence in Australia longer than the distance between Seattle and Miami. Almonds are part of the peach family. The longest time between two twins being born is 87 days. A jockey won a horse race while dead. Bananas are Walmart's best-selling item. Scotland's national animal is the unicorn. May 29th is Put a Pillow on Your Fridge Day. Follow and comment below which fact blew your mind.
Put a pillow on your fridge day, bro. May 29th. I need to mark that down, bro.
Disturbing facts about the human body you wish you never knew. Because your brain has no pain receptors, brain surgery is sometimes performed while the patient is awake. Like this woman who was playing the violin while getting brain surgery. Now, everybody knows that feeling you get on a roller coaster when it feels like your stomach is turning. But do you actually know that feeling is caused by all your organs moving around your body? Next up, did you know you can break a rib while sneezing? This might sound fake, but it's very possible. So, next time you sneeze, you could break a rib. Finally, a human head remains conscious for around 20 seconds after being decapitated. I can just imagine what your mind is thinking while your head is laying on the floor off your body.
That seems impossible, man. They said there's been cases where that's been, I guess, recorded, so that's has to be one of the weirdest facts we've heard yet.
Genius inventions that should exist everywhere. Some elevators...
Oh, man. I wanted to hear those inventions.
He wore his victim's scalp to cross the Canadian border. This is 44-year-old Beverly Capone, and she worked as a data processor in Mount Vernon. On Monday, February 25th of 1985, Beverly went to work as usual, and when she got off of work, she was abducted by 30-year-old Alex Mingle, and he was a Dutch immigrant. Initially, Alex needed Beverly for her car, but he had some other plans in his mind. He then followed Beverly to a cabin he would often visit to hunt and fish. Once they had arrived, he had took Beverly's life. Once he had unalived Beverly, he carefully took off her face and scalp with a sharp knife. Alex then dumped her body approximately half a mile into the woods. 2 days after unaliving Beverly, Alex was seen outside of a shopping mall in Toronto, Canada. He was driving Beverly's car that was reported missing by her family. Alex crashed her car into a wall while trying to escape from police when he was cornered. As police were arresting Alex, they were deeply disturbed by his appearance. Alex was not only driving Beverly's car, but he was also wearing her scalp like if it was a wig and her lipstick. It was later revealed that in order for Alex to get across the border, he used Beverly's ID, her scalp, her hair, and her lipstick to pose as Beverly. In the backseat of the car, police discovered facial tissue, and they believed that Alex was trying to wear Beverly's face. When Alex was arrested, he tried to escape from his police escort, and that escort shot him and he died immediately. About 11 days later, Beverly's remains were found in a heavy wooded area, and it revealed that she was stabbed in the chest, and her scalp and her face were just sliced off. Unfortunately, Beverly was not the only victim that Alex had. He also did this to many others.
Mind-blowing tech facts. Did you know the first ever mobile phone weighed over 2 kilograms? Your smartphone today has more power than the computers that NASA used to put a man on the moon. The average person checks their smartphone 58 times per day. We all know that switching phones or losing data can be an absolute nightmare. Luckily, I found Wondershare Dr. Phone. It makes transferring data, unlocking phones, and recovering lost files super easy. Whether it's a forgotten password or switching all of your data to a new phone, Dr. Phone has you covered. So you can see here at the bottom, this is all of the things that I can do, like back up my device, export all of my data, unlock the screen if I've been locked out, erase all of my data, transfer WhatsApp history. It literally removes the iOS screen lock, so if I get locked out on my phone because I've entered the password too many times, I can recover. So if you want to avoid all the tech headaches, hit the link in my bio and check out Dr. Phone. It's also available for iOS 18.
That's how people can be used to hack to get into your phone, man. It has some advantages and some disadvantages as well. You can just bypass the lock screen, get all your data. Gotta be tapped in.
Some facts you didn't know, part 245. During the live broadcast of a Japanese game show in 2008, the host Tetsuchi Yanagita was encouraged to join in on the game. Upon falling in the shallow, muddy waters, he horrifically broke his neck, which left him paralyzed from the neck down. Completely unaware of his injuries, the contestants thought he was just playing a prank on them. They proceeded to push his face into the waters while he struggled to stay alive. When serial killer Ed Kemper cut off his mother's head, he placed it on a shelf and screamed at it for over an hour. He then cut out her tongue and larynx and tried to put them in the garbage disposal. But it was unable to break down the tough vocal cords, and he found this rather ironic. He said that seemed appropriate, as much as she bitched and yelled and screamed at me over all those years. A fire started in Chicago on October 8th of 1871 and burned down almost the entire city in just 2 days. 300 people lost their lives and over 100,000 were left homeless. With most of the city being constructed out of wood, a 4-month drought, as well as firefighters being sent to the wrong location at the start of the fire, it became known as the Great Chicago Fire of 1871.
This is the world's most haunted doll, said to be so haunted that if you take a picture or a video of him without his permission, you'll be cursed. Also stated by many people to be 10 times more dangerous than the Annabelle doll. But Robert's story is weird, but here it is. Back in the 1970s, a young boy named Eugene Otto was given Robert the doll by his grandfather. Once these two met, they were completely inseparable, doing absolutely everything together, as a child and his toy usually did. Up until one night, where Eugene can remember going to sleep with Robert, but waking up in the middle of the night to some really weird noises coming from across his room. When he finally got up and checked it out, it was Robert. He was standing by himself, just looking at Eugene. After that, Eugene and the family decided that they were going to put Robert up in the attic, and it is said that Robert stayed there for years. But every single night around the same time, they would hear rustling and scraping and almost a running sound on the attic, meaning that Robert must have been running around up there. which as we know is almost impossible for a doll to do, so it has to be possessed. The other damning piece of evidence is that neighbors have said that when they came home, they have seen Robert inside of the attic looking out the attic window, which is just mind-blowing. Robert currently sits at the Martellus Museum in Key West, Florida, and of course the protective spirit box, making him 117 years old, at least in this lifetime.
In my opinion, this is like the most notorious place in this entire country. The Ancient Ram Inn. It's in this pit where they found the skeletal remains of children who were sacrificed.
Not the sort of place I want to live.
It's a foreboding place. It is the most evil house I've had the misfortune to visit.
My father, and he was a devout Baptist minister when he moved in. He was tapped by incubus, the sex demon.
Satanic rituals were performed here.
Using it for curses.
This place, every time you walk in, I mean, I wouldn't spend the night on my own. It's supposed to be linked to the devil, basically. It's a sex demon.
There, the triangular mark is what they call a witch's mark to ward off evil spirits. I'm not joking, he possesses people in here. You really have to be careful.
There's the reports of a person who was killed by having his face pressed into the open fire.
So that's what I don't live here now. It's more than just the little things moving. It's, you know, it's got this place has got personality.
Gang bang. What the?
Brave souls.
Kissing is something messing with my leg.
Ancient Ram, man. There's some brave souls going here. What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. How you guys doing? If you guys are brand new here to the channel, you guys don't know what we do, let me talk about it for you guys. We break down the most scariest and creepiest videos on the net, on the web, from YouTube videos to TikTok videos, IG reels, Facebook, anything weird, usual, and unexplained you can find right here on this channel. Just want to thank all my supporters, man, who come back to the channel each and every single day, watching the video entirely, commenting down below, most importantly hitting that thumbs up button on each and every single video I drop. I greatly appreciate the support, man. You guys see our numbers are climbing, so that's thanks to you guys. Found this video for you guys today. Let's do what we do best, seekers, man. Say it with me, y'all. Let's seek the truth.
Here are some disturbing animal facts that are going to make you look at the animal kingdom differently. Parents and teachers definitely wouldn't want me telling you any of these. So, listen the feck up. Now, flatworms definitely look like the kind of creature that God was bored on the day he made them. However, there is some fecked up shit going on in the flatworm species. For starters, all flatworms are actually born male. Gotta be very careful in how I phrase this next part, otherwise Papa TikTok will be very mad at me. All flatworms, as they are born male, will fight with their lightsabers, in which the loser of the duel gets injected and their lightsaber falls off, making them a female, and that's how flatworm females are made. Next up, sperm whales are very majestic creatures. Oh, they're fucking not, and let me tell you why. They can actually vibrate you to the next world. They are so physically massive that their clicks are so loud that they can vibrate you or cause an air bubble in your brain, making you meet your maker very quickly. Geese, these blue-eyed devils are so strong that they can break your shins with their beaks. Dolphins are little shits. You know how you like going down to the lake and skipping some stones? Well, this complete menace enjoys that too. However, instead of using stones, they use fucking stingrays. That's right, when they're bored, they swim down, catch them, bring them to the surface, and skip them along like they're a rock. I'm holding back the laughter, but it's still wrong. Next up, we've got baby sloths. If a baby sloth falls off its mother's back and down onto the forest floor, sadly, more often than not, the mother can't spare the energy to go down and get it. Which, as you can imagine, doesn't necessarily end well for a baby sloth. And finally, we have pigeons. Now, I dislike these flying dodos as much as I dislike seagulls. However, I'm not kidding, they are capable mathematicians. I'll be honest, point out to myself, I fucking hate maths. But just like non-human primates, they are capable of learning abstract mathematical concepts. But they're complete menaces to their own society as shown in this video. My point proven, they venture through one of their own into the next world. Elon!
Phase ADAP, he was on the pigeon theory, man. He was the first one.
Websites you should never visit. Part 2. Crime scene photos. Trigger warning, this website is extremely graphic and not for the faint of heart. It shows real live crime scene photos and then explains them in depth. The website is a bit much and not for everyone, so I would definitely take that with a grain of salt. Comment down below and tag a friend if I should do a part 3.
I don't think I want to visit that site. I don't need that in my mind.
Disturbing brain facts. 1. The brain will protect itself even if it means misery to you or death.
If you're stuck in the middle of a cold place, your brain will fall asleep to conserve energy and never wake up again. Inhaling smoke in the middle of a burning house, your brain will make you stop breathing and pass out. 2. Your brain doesn't necessarily stop all activity the moment you are pronounced clinically dead. Up to 30 minutes of brain activity has been recorded after death. 3. Comment brain and I will DM you a brain hack you definitely have never heard about. 4. When you're falling asleep at night and your body jerks. This is called hypnic jerks. This happens because your brain thinks you're dying if your body falls asleep faster than your brain. 5. 90% of all illness and disease is stress related. 6. Certain brain injuries or conditions can lead to spontaneous and uncontrollable bursts of aggressive or violent behavior, even in individuals who were previously non-violent. 7. Your eyeballs are an extension of your brain and are directly connected to it.
Whoa. Those brain facts, man. Definitely write some of those down, bro. We're gonna need those.
Scariest things found underwater. From Atlantic Ocean. Stone people.
They from Atlantis?
Chuk Lagoon. WW to tank.
Damn.
From Little Traverse Bay. Jesus statue. From Lake Lanier. Underwater ghost town to 150 plus towns. From Lake Neuchatel. Shark statue. From Antarctica. Ningen.
What's that?
From Minnesota Lake. Jason Voorhees statue.
How was Jason underwater?
Girl that vanished into thin air. Her name is Yuki Onishi. On April 29th of 2005, 5-year-old Yuki was out celebrating Greenery Day with her mother. It's a national holiday in Japan, and what they do is they go out, they celebrate nature, and they collect bamboo shoots. So Yuki, her mom, and 60 other people were out doing this. Yuki was so excited that she found her first bamboo shoot, she showed her mother, and then she ran off to find more. That's when she disappeared and was never seen from again. When they realized that she was nowhere to be found, they actually brought in search dogs and the police. This is where it gets really strange. The dogs followed her scent to the middle of the forest and then just stopped. The scent stopped in the middle of the forest as if she had just disappeared into thin air from that spot. To this day, she has never been found and no one knows what happened. If you want to hear some theories, come back for part 2.
Deadliest disasters
That's
in
insane.
human history. Part 1. In 1986, the Space Shuttle Challenger broke apart 73 seconds into its flight, killing all 7 crew members aboard. The astronauts actually lived through the initial explosion and survived for nearly 3 minutes before they died on impact with the water. In 1184, a group of nobles gathered in a room in the Church of St. Peter above the latrine pit of the monks. All of a sudden, the floor collapsed due to their combined weight, causing 60 nobles to fall to their death into a pool of poop and sewage. In 1893, gifts were being passed out at a magic show in Victoria Hall. Over 1,000 kids tried to force themselves down a narrow staircase that led to a single door that opened inward. Only one child at a time could pass through, causing 183 children to be crushed to death.
With some gifts, man. Even back then, bro, people were going crazy over gifts. About items, belongings, man. It's just, it don't make sense. People gotta be more careful.
Facts, part 409. In November of '99, the girlfriend of Panthers wide receiver Ray Caruth was shot 4 times and later died in the hospital. It was soon determined that her NFL boyfriend had hired a hitman to kill her after she reportedly refused to abort their baby. The baby ended up surviving, and Caruth went to prison for 19 years before being released in 2018. During a tense pro basketball game in 1992, Serbian player Boban Jankovic was frustrated with a foul call and slammed his head into a padded concrete post. He immediately dropped to the floor and was never able to walk again after badly damaging his spinal cord. Earlier this year, 44-year-old Pennsylvania man John Matthew Chapman was sentenced to life in prison after driving his girlfriend across the country and luring her into a Nevada desert for a bondage photo shoot. He then bound her to a signpost with zip ties, taped her mouth and nose shut, and watched as she died.
Here's what would happen if every girl on Earth disappeared. So about 4 billion girls would be wiped out and the boys would be left to fend for themselves. And more than 70% of people in the medical field are actually females. So people would be dying left and right. Also, the entire school system would collapse. This is because most college students and professors are actually female. On top of that, 30 countries would lose their leaders and the world would fall into chaos. And then the boys would be left alone to go extinct.
Things humans weren't meant to
We need women. That's simple. That's a very simple thought. What the hell? All this secret footage. Okay, that looks kind of edited right there. I can't lie to you right there.
Get me out of here! What do you want? Please, I don't want to be here anymore. Just let me out.
What the hell is that? Shoot, secret footage.
Gruesome facts you didn't
Is that legit on the edit?
This is the sandbox tree, a tree doing everything in its power to kill you. If its deadly appearance isn't enough to keep you away, maybe learning that its small fruits, which look like little pumpkins, actually become time bombs when they fully mature. With a loud bang, they will fling their hardened seeds up to 150 miles per hour and over 60 feet.
Damn.
To further add to that, the fruits are also poisonous and the sap can cause blindness and a painful red rash. This is a nose tomb located in Kyoto, Japan, which is filled with Korean noses. Japanese samurai would collect trophies from those they killed during wartime. Now, traditionally, it was the entire enemy's head. But due to how cumbersome it would be to take that many severed heads, they went with noses instead. The noses would be pickled and sent back to Japan. This tomb contains an estimated 38,000 noses. In July of 2018, a tofu worker in Indonesia named Sugito was out collecting grass and vegetables for his cattle when he accidentally wandered into a licensed crocodile sanctuary. It wasn't long until he was attacked, and guards did hear his screams, but they couldn't save him. The next day, a mob of over 600 angry villagers stormed the sanctuary to take revenge. First destroying the office, then going after the reptiles. In total, they killed 292 crocodiles. After each crocodile was dead, it would be dragged and placed into a giant bloody pile, and then they would take selfies in front of it.
Morbid fact.
They slid, bro. They was not playing, man. That type of community like that, you can't find that. That's rare. Don't mess with people, bro. You don't know where they come from.
Part 408. American actor and model John Eric Hexum was once seen as the next big thing in Hollywood due to his charming looks, charisma, and radio voice. But in 1984, he died on the set of the TV show Cover Up after accidentally discharging a blank cartridge into his skull. Hexum had apparently been playing Russian roulette with a prop gun during a break in filming, and the muzzle blast caused enough blunt force trauma to fracture a piece of his skull that propelled into his brain. Serial killer Israel Keys went the extra mile to ensure that he would never be detected. He had no preferred victim type and never killed in the same area twice. For one murder, he flew to Chicago and drove 1,000 miles all the way to Vermont in a rental car, and used a murder kit he'd hidden there 2 years prior. When shopping on his murder trips, he always kept his phone turned off and only ever paid in cash. But Keys was caught in 2012 after using a victim's credit card when he didn't have any cash on hand.
Things
This
people do
Jesus
is to
statue
not get
started
caught.
leaking water, and everybody thought it was a miracle until they realized it wasn't. In 2012, when water started dripping down this Jesus Christ statue in an Indian church, everybody thought it was a miracle. Hundreds of people would gather there every single day just to get a drink of this water. They thought it would cure diseases and even send them to heaven. But this guy right here wasn't buying it. His name is Sanal, and he wanted to see it for himself. So he traveled across the world to see this statue and began his investigation. He searched the building next door where he found drain pipes that had bursted, and they were leaking everywhere. It turns out the water dripping down from the statue was actually sewage water. So the water people were collecting and drinking was literally poop. Sanal shared this information with everyone, but nobody wanted to hear it. Instead, he received threats, and the church even sentenced him to prison.
Let's talk about the Arcadia.
He was just trying to expose the truth.
Arcadia County,
or tell the
Ohio,
truth.
A teen named Calvin Dim went missing on his way home from school. This was really unusual at the time because Calvin was actually a pretty well-accomplished athlete and he was very tall for his age, so whoever did overtake him and abduct him was either a larger person or a group of people. So for like weeks this investigation goes cold until a VHS tape is mysteriously found at the doorstep of his parents' house. The VHS was compiled of various different clips of unknown people in different masks who were just staring into the camera. But there is one clip in this video that had the words Cal, short for Calvin, edited into the VHS. This was pretty definitive evidence for the police that whoever made this video either knew where Calvin was or they had him in their possession. Police would end up finding this frame, which showed a person in a black tarp, presumably with their wrists and ankles tied. Investigators believe this could be Calvin, and what's even eerier is they think this was shot in the woods behind his house.
What? People are sick, man. Just like torments their family like that. Send a VHS tape to them so they can see that.
This is the creepy story about the school trip. An entire class of 6th graders went on a school trip. Everyone was taking pictures with phones and cameras. When they returned back to school, everyone was looking through the photos when the one girl said, "Oh my god, what is that?" Everybody ran over to look at it. In the picture, one of the boys in the class was sitting on the bus. Nothing seemed strange about the photo until you looked very closely at his reflection in the window. His face in the reflection looked like it was yellow and bulging, bubbling and mutating, and there appeared to be a strange floating white thing beside him. When everyone turned the picture upside down, they realized it was a skull and it was horrific. When the boy saw the photo of himself, he burst into tears and immediately had a panic attack. The teacher had to send the boy to the nurse, and the principal banned everybody from ever speaking about the strange photo again. 7 days later, the boy in the photo died from a brain tumor.
So what the hell? Was that like a sign or something, man? He said he saw a skull on him, bro. And they was all taking pictures, man, so that had to have been a sign, right? That's crazy how they caught that on camera. 7 days later, man. When you're taking pictures, bro, it tells a story. I learned that watching these videos together with you guys.
Here's 5 things you won't believe you can buy off the dark web. The last one could have saved me a ton of money. Number 1 is fake passports for any country in the world. Now this is very dangerous because a lot of terrorists use this. Number 2 is a hitman. You can hire a contract killer to get the job done for you for approximately $5,000. Number 3 is credit card numbers. And since you can never know that an individual credit card has been canceled, these identity thieves sell them in batches of 100. Number 4 is a lifetime Netflix account for just $1. This account is paid for using stolen credit cards. Finally, at number 5, a fake college degree from the college of your choice.
People getting fake degrees out here? You gotta check everything.
Humans were never meant to see. If you didn't know, this is what a snail drinking water looks like. It's actually super rare, and the fact we were able to capture it on camera is incredible. But what's more incredible is this octopus dreaming. And the reason why it's changing colors so much is because it's dreaming about different environments. So it's trying to blend in all of them.
Whoa, what the hell? Octopus can dream? Yeah, I never do that. And that shot of the snail looks like a freaking, like a bullet went off, bro. It's like that quick. Hey man, nature. I learn new things every single day watching these videos together with you guys, so I'm always grateful for that. Whew.
Now I love dinosaurs as much as the next guy, but I think it's pretty safe to say there ain't no way in fuck I'm taking part in this shit. Cause here are some of the scariest extinct animals you'll be glad took the L. First up, we got the Therizinosaurus, a literal Freddy Krueger of a dinosaur. If you don't believe me, What the fuck is that? They had 3 feet long claws. Now scientists say that they're most likely herbivores, but I'm sorry, evolution. Oh, what the fuck? Why have you given a herbivore 3 foot long claws to tear down the little plants? Meanwhile, you've given the T-Rex, the daddy meat-eating carnivore, little fucking Tootsie Rolls for arms. The me no comprende. Next up, we got the Meganeura. Now, I'm really not a fan of dragonflies nowadays, so a flying cocky fucker with a wingspan of 75 centimeters that resembles a dragonfly can fuck off. And finally, we got sea scorpions. Now, they're on the list purely for their size. I mean, what? They had a length of 8 feet and 3 inches, and when their claws were actually fully extended, that could add another 3 feet to their length. You know, just an 11.5 foot scorpion. We're chilling. Now, I don't mind scorpion. If this was a spider, nah!
Yeah, we ain't doing... I know we don't do spider seekers. That's a no. Man, so scorpion was that big back in the day? You can say we glad they took the L, bro.
This is perfection. One of the worst videos on the dark web you should never go looking for. Explained. Okay, so perfection is a dark web video nobody should go looking for or even want to see. The video shows a woman peeling her nose and entire face off with a potato peeler, with literally zero expression or pain on her face throughout the entire time doing it. After she completely peeled off her face and nose, her jaw was just hanging down because there was no support from the cheeks anymore. There is a story about 3 friends who watched the entire perfection video and 2 of them ended up dying. Many reports say that while watching the perfection video, it somehow hypnotizes you and you end up doing what the girl did to herself and dying. But luckily for all of us, this video is literally impossible to find. It's extremely hard to find on the dark web, which means it's virtually impossible to find it on the normal web.
Good.
This is honestly a video I would even stay curious on, because it comes from the dark web for starters, and it's extremely and utterly awful. Nobody knows who the girl is or why she's doing this to herself, and nobody knows who even made it. But the stories surrounding the video saying people get hypnotized and end up peeling their own face off and dying make it 100 times more scary, and should make you not want to watch it or even look for it. Perfection is regarded as one of the most unsettling and disturbing videos on the internet, and the mysterious origin and story of it make it truly an internet mystery.
Let's talk about a terrifying moment from the scariest game I have ever played. Lost in Vivo. In Lost in Vivo, your dog Danny has ventured into the sewer and it's our job to save him. Danny is our best friend. We can't let him get hurt. The sewer goes deeper and deeper, evolving into all sorts of random locations. We push on to find Danny, fighting through unspeakable horrors while we do so. Eventually, we make our way to a mining area. And look, there's Danny. He even comes when we whistle. But wait a minute. Why does he look a little off? Why does he sound like that? All of a sudden, Danny's body begins to open up. This is not your dog. And you need to run because it can smell your fear.
What type of game is that, bro? Dogs, the final boss?
If your immune system ever found out that you have eyeballs, you would go blind. Which means right now, your immune system has no clue that you can see. Because if they did, they would attack your eyeballs until you can no longer ever see. This is because your eyeballs have a protein in them called crystalline that doesn't exist anywhere else in your body. So if your immune system found out and checked them out, it would be like, something's wrong here. Studies show that most serial killers are born in November. Today's high school students have the same anxiety levels as insane asylum patients had in the 1950s. I'm not gonna lie to y'all, my anxiety might be up there too. There's a disease called fatal familial insomnia, where people suddenly one day lose their ability to fall asleep, which leads them to slowly go insane. They can't distinguish dreams from reality anymore and go into some type of paranoia. It becomes so severe that they eventually die. Those that make it to the final stage and don't die usually end up in a vegetated state, no longer conscious. And it can happen to any one of you. About 3,000 people go missing every year in the United States. The last execution by guillotine was in 1977. This was in France. And also that was the same year the first Star Wars movie came out. You are always 6 minutes away from death, but breathing resets the clock. In 2011, Anatoly Yakovlevich was arrested for having 12 dolls in his apartment. Only problem is, they weren't normal dolls. They were recently deceased little girls that had been dug up and dressed to be put on display. In 2012, a Burger King employee anonymously posted this to 4chan. It said, "This is the lettuce you eat at Burger King." It only took 20 minutes for people to track down the branch that he worked at, and he was fired. You really never know what people are doing to your food. H.H. Holmes was a serial killer who built a torture hotel in the 19th century. He had secret rooms with gas chambers, trap doors, and stairs that led to nowhere. He loved to play with his victims' minds. It was almost like a real-life Saw movie. There's a bridge in Scotland called the Overtoun Bridge, and for some reason, dogs keep jumping off of it at the same spot. Yeah, they just jump to their deaths. Experts can't figure out why either. Some people speculate it's a magnetic field, or maybe a frequency that only they can hear, but others believe it's something supernatural. But whatever is making dogs jump off that bridge to their deaths is still to this day unexplained. Joe Matheny was an infamous serial killer who not only cooked his victims to eat for himself, but also made them into burgers, using their remains. He then sold them to unsuspecting customers from a roadside food stand. We really never know what he is. I'm cooking all my food myself, because why don't we eat over people's house? In 2021, a new homeowner was shocked to find a boarded up wall. When he ripped the boards off the wall, he discovered a hole. In that hole was a doll clutching a note. The note saying that she killed a family who lived there in the 1960s. Be honest, would you move out? In 1978, there was a pilot named Frederick Valentin. Him and his plane disappeared in Australia. His last communication was, Melbourne, that strange aircraft is hovering above me again. It is hovering, and it is not an aircraft. This is a mugshot of William West and William West. Oh, and they're not related at all, but they were both sent to Leavenworth Prison at the exact same time in 1903. And after some confusion, the staff finally figured it out. They were two different people who had the exact same name and looked identical. This was said to be one of the main reasons why we now use fingerprints to identify somebody. There's biotech being developed as we speak that can make prisoners feel they are serving an 1,000-year sentence in a matter of 8 hours. That's horrifying. Imagine thinking you spent 1,000 years somewhere, and then when you wake up and snap out of it, you realize that it was only a couple hours. Do you know how crazy that is? Anyways, like this video if you want a part 2.